All right, should you pay off your house a little bit faster? I know that comes to a lot of our minds is that we don't like to have these big, huge mortgage debts. It kind of like it's the first place that we want to send our money. We want to send an extra 20, 30, $40 a month just to wipe it out faster. We kind of play with the calculators and find out if we send one additional payment per year, how many years is it going to knock off my mortgage? Or if I pay every 2 weeks, what's that going to look like? I was talking to somebody the other day and they were saying, that they wanted to pay one payment more per year because they read online, it would knock 7, 8 years off their mortgage, which could be true. And then they were also going to take their tax refund and they were going to dump it on the principal each and every year. And they wanted to know like how fast they could pay the house off if they were to do that. And before we answered that question, I wanted to know a little bit more about the motivation. Obviously, it's to pay the house off. And long story short, client was telling me that they were just so afraid of carrying this big mortgage payment, and they liked the idea of wiping out that mortgage payment. But I had to remind them that the only thing that you get rid of when you do that is you're getting rid of the principal and you're getting rid of the interest. The property taxes, the insurance are going to be your responsibility, and that's a portion of your mortgage payment. So, if in this scenario, let's say that it was $2,500 per month on the payment, part of that, maybe $800 of that was property taxes and insurance. So really they're not shedding the entire thing. They're losing a portion of that. So we had to kind of remind them on that. The other thing is that they didn't really have a whole lot of money in the way of savings, and they had very little in the way of retirement as well. So I had to kind of play out a scenario for them. I said, look, let's say that you accomplish this, you get it paid off in 15 years or 12 years or whatever the goal is. And at that time, you decide that you're going to, get close to retirement. Well, now what are you going to do? And they're like, well, we'll have Social Security and we'll have we've got a 401k. And I'm like, well, how much is in the 401k? So we looked at it. It was like 10 grand in the 401k right now. Now, this is a couple that was in their mid 40s. So in my opinion, probably significantly behind on the retirement savings. There was a small pension that would be in play due to some prior employment. But when we look at it as a whole, there wasn't really going to be a lot to live on at that point. So we kind of fast forwarded and said, would you agree that 10, 15 years ago, it was cheaper to go to the grocery store? And they're like, well, yeah, it was way cheaper. Was it cheaper to get gas? Yeah, it was cheaper. Okay, so your utility costs back then were way cheaper. Yes, utilities were quite a bit cheaper. So what's to make us think that it's going to be cheaper in the future or the same as it is today in the future, 10 or 15 years from now? And if we agree that it's probably going to be more expensive, then if we're living off of just those small retirement incomes, we're probably going to run short each and every month. So then what do? Well, we go back to the property to either sell it or we try to refinance it, pull money out. And this is this game that a lot of people pay. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of open up their eyes to, should it make sense for them to kind of put all of this extra money, these extra resources while they have, let's say maybe a 15-year runway till retirement into the mortgage to pay it off. And I think the answer in this particular case was probably no, because they were short in other areas. Now, if this couple had adequate money in retirement, we had IRAs, we had insurance money that would be coming in, all these things that they could kind of draw down from in the future, and they had leftover money, didn't know what to do with it, then yeah, maybe it made sense to kind of wipe out the mortgage payment. But in this scenario, it made sense for them to reinvest that money elsewhere. And really, this couple didn't have anybody that was giving them any guidance on the finances side. So it makes sense that their first place to look was going to be the mortgage, because that's kind of what came to mind for them. It was the thing that the pain point, like we don't want to carry this heavy mortgage going into retirement, but they weren't seeing the opportunity with other investments. And so I would argue that before you do that, meet with somebody, a financial planner. If you don't quite have enough capital, to go and work with a financial planner, because some financial planners want you to have a certain amount of money before they'll start to work with you. Reach out to us. Maybe we can kind of plant some seeds and give you some ideas. We are not financial planners. We can't actually give you the concrete financial advice, but we know a lot of people that can. And so sometimes we can get at least conversations started with people that may not manage your money because you might not have enough capital for it, but we can at least have you talk to them so that they can kind of give you some tips and maybe a little bit of a runway that eventually you'll have enough funds where you can kind of get into that managed account and really kind of accelerate those assets for the future. And so in this scenario, this client was super excited to kind of see something different other than just paying off the mortgage. And so we have them set up with a financial planner to take a look at their scenario and help them do a little bit of planning. On top of that, we're probably going to end up working with an estate planning attorney to protect the asset, which is what they're really kind of hoping will help them in the retirement phase of life as well. So a lot of things that just people don't realize, and that's kind of what we're here for, is to kind of plant little seeds and say, hey, we've kind of seen a little further down the road. I know you're just getting started, but these are some things that the more wealthy people of the world are kind of doing on a daily basis. It comes very natural to them, and they have a lot of resources for it. Let's just kind of tiptoe into that environment and help kind of set you on the right path. So I thought it would be a fun story to kind of share with you. It doesn't make sense for literally everybody. For some people, it makes sense to pay off the mortgage super fast, but I think there's some basic principles we need to follow on that, and we don't need to just automatically do it. Let's kind of take a time out. Let's kind of look at what it would be if we did it, paid off the house faster, what it would be if we reinvested those funds, where's the break-even point, and if we fast forward 15, 20, even 30 years, the longer you kind of look ahead, the wider the gap is between the two, between investing and potentially paying off the house faster. All right, guys, till next time. Talk to you soon.